Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Today's video is going to be about line choice and technical sections like rock gardens and how best to approach them and pick your line through them. Some of the prerequisites for this kind of riding are going to be being able to ride really slow and in control, and to do that, you want to practice track stands. Track stands will get you to have that slow speed bike control, and you really want that for technical sections. I see a lot of riders that when they get to a slow speed, they start getting really wobbly and unstable and stuff. And if that's you, practice slow speed riding. You should be able to go at a very slow roll and keep stable and steady on your bike while standing out of the saddle, not while seated. That's another prerequisite. Being really comfortable, drop your seat, get out of the saddle, and be standing and pedaling, especially on a hardtail. But that doesn't mean that all rock gardens and all technical things require standing. If you have a full suspension bike, 29-inch wheels and stuff, sometimes you can stay seated and pedal through it. But for a lot of it, you want to be standing too. So standing and getting that balance and having that skill will just improve everything, even your seated balance. So yeah, let's go hit the trail and talk about these few sections. So before I get onto the more technical trail, find something like this and work on slowing way down, standing, even pedaling because I'm going up a slight hill, and having that solid stability on the bike. Here's a flat section. So I'm standing in my attack position, and look how slow I can go. I can actually come to a stop and not get wobbly. There I'm wobbly, now I'm track standing, and then super slow roll, maybe a tiny bit wobbly, but I'm going really slow. I'm going like 1 or 2 miles per hour. So you want this kind of practice. So if you're looking ahead 15-20 feet down in front of you instead of just right down in front of your front tire, you'll see these roots well in advance. So then when you see these roots, these aren't too bad, but what you want to be looking for is anything that's at like an angle like this or like that, that might have a potential to catch your tire, front or rear, and kick you to the side. Most of these are going at enough of a degree that way, and you can see down there, there's a little bit bigger root sticking out. And you can see those two smaller ones right there, and then there's another bigger one that you really can't avoid, but it's straight across the trail. So on a hardtail, I stand up through here and in the attack position, and I make sure that way back here, as soon as I see the roots, right, when I'm back here, I can see them because I'm looking ahead of me, so that tree obscures my view. Then as I go here and I'm looking down the trail, I see the roots. I have this stretch of trail. I want momentum going into those. So I'm going to put in a few good pedals here, make sure that by the time I get to these roots, I have momentum, because if you go slow, they're going to be a lot harder. You want to have a little bit of speed. And then I'm looking ahead and I'm going to choose this line right through here, go over this guy, miss that rock, go to the right, and just go right through and try to avoid this bigger one. You can hit the bigger one too if it depends on what you're going for. That's fine if you hit it. It's just going to be a bit more jarring, so be ready for it, or pull up over it, or go here, cleaner line, and then just aim right for here. But remember, if you're looking ahead and you're not looking down, because the tendency with the roots is looking down, if you're looking ahead, you'll see that there's a sharp turn after this, and you're going through these roots with some momentum. So here's a great little slow down spot. Tab your brake a little bit, dab your brake, pop your front wheel over this, come in from the outside line, and then around this corner, and then you're looking ahead still, and you'll have another corner. So that's this section. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it. Check it out. I see the roots. Pick this line right to the right of that, pop over, and make my corner. Pick this line right to the right of that, pop over, and make my corner. One thing to notice with that video is how effortless these roots were, because I saw them, I picked up speed, and then I just plowed right over them. People get afraid of stuff like this, and when they get afraid, they slow down. The moment you slow down on something like this suddenly becomes way more challenging. Sorry, I had to jump out of the way of some riders. When filming like this, I'm constantly paying attention. Sometimes you'll actually see me do a quick glance or something, and if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm always making sure I know where the riders are coming, because I don't want to be in their way, especially on a section like this. But what I was saying is, if you slow down, these suddenly become way more challenging. So you want to hit them at speed, but you want to watch for roots that are in alignment with your wheel, like I talked about earlier, because those are what are going to kick you. But roots that are going across like this, no problem, you're just going to roll over them. So the more speed, the easier the section will be. All right, this rock garden is really challenging. So we're going to talk about line choice through all three sections. I know this rock garden, so I know there's 3 sections. So I'll walk through it, and this is something you can actually do. Just make sure you're aware of riders coming as you do it, but you might want to peek at it before you ride it and kind of plan your attack. If you're a more skilled rider and you do stuff like this all the time, you'll be pretty good at just looking ahead and picking your line as you go, which is kind of what I do. But for a more entry-level rider, or a rider that's learning, you want to walk this stuff and kind of plan your attack. So here we go. We'll come through, and you can kind of just look through and find where's the smoothest line through here. And I see that rock right there. If the thing comes into focus, of course it wants to focus on my hand. That rock. Sometimes your mentality says avoid the bigger rocks, but when I look at that rock and I see what's after it, I actually want to go over that rock. Sometimes aiming for the bigger rocks is the smoother line, believe it or not. It's kind of interesting. So pretty flat here. You can get an okay amount of speed, but remember, you just took this sharp turn, so you're not going to have a ton of speed going into here. So this is going to be a slower speed, balancing, pedaling, avoiding doing pedal strike kind of thing, which is another reason why you want to go over the bigger rock, because if you go over here and you have to pedal, you have a chance of pedal striking. If you go right over it, you're going to avoid pedal striking. Then you come through, and from here forward, if you just kind of stay middle, it's pretty smooth. So you just keep going all the way through, right? And then we'll talk about the next section up there. Okay, you're blind at this point. And this, you come around, you see that rock, right? Just best to go over it, and boom, you come around this corner and you see that. This is a walker for a lot of people. So don't ever be ashamed to walk something like this, because you don't want to get hurt. Big rock on the right, you need to avoid that with your pedal and everything, so you certainly can't go right there, so you got to go wide. So your best bet is to go wide, maybe just off of this thing or to the left of it. Go over these rocks, flat rocks, stay wide, because if you're, again, always be looking ahead. There's a big rock right there, so you need to take this wider line, because if you take the inside line, you're going to run into that rock. Keep in mind, you got handlebars, knuckles, calf. You don't want to hit your calf, your pedal, all that stuff. Wide here, right up the middle, right between those two rocks. And then it's kind of one of these things where the beginning is technical, then you get here and you just ride on out. It's pretty kind of bouncy and stuff in here, but you just keep pedaling, keep going. I do it out of the saddle. If you have full suspension, 29 or something like that, you want to stay seated and grind it out, have at it. But I feel like out of the saddle allows my bike to move a lot more. So even with full suspension, I'll stay out of the saddle. Pretty straightforward, just stay in the middle and go through. And we got one more section. Now as you approach this, there's two options. That option looks scary from here, but actually it's the better line. If you go around this way, first we'll do that. Then you come into this and then have to turn left around that big rock, right? Which you can do, it's fine. And then it's, pretty smooth. So this, again, it's this first part that's technical. But the back side of this isn't bad. So I prefer to go. So here's our two options again, coming back so you can see them. I prefer to go over this, stay here. Now look, if I go over this, look where I am. Straight shot right through that rock garden. So it's the better line. And then when you get to the end, and I notice this, it's hard to see, but I notice it every time I ride this. I'm like, oh, I'm almost done here. Look at how rough this is. That sticks up, boom, boom, boom. So this is actually pretty rough, but there's really not much you can do but just stay on it, ride through, boom, boom, just stay in the center, pick your line, and then when you come around this corner, just stay right down the center and aim for the right side of that rock right there. Not the dirt, because then you can catch this edge. So the tendency people will do is they go, I want to go here, but then you have this little edge here and that they can catch your tire. It's actually better to just go right over that rock. So there you go. Let's ride it. Gear choice is important here. You don't want too spinny of a gear. You don't want too hard of a gear. Just a nice balance. See, that section's pretty smooth. This section's rougher than it looks. I actually kind of pump as I go through it a little bit. Whew. Yeah. Now for this next one. Over this guy, straight shot. Whew. And breathe. Sometimes I forget to breathe. You don't want too hard. Just a nice balance. So that section's pretty smooth. This section is rough. Rougher than it was. I actually kind of pulled it. Yeah. Here we go. Over this guy, straight shot. So one thing that's important when you're riding is to have proper tire pressure, because if you have a lot of pressure in your tires, rock gardens and stuff like that and those roots are going to be less forgiving. Your tire can't flex and mold around it, and then it's going to be a lot more jarring experience. This is even with full suspension. So I am 195 pounds right now, probably slightly over 200 with my pack full of water, and I run 21 psi in the front on a 27.5 by 2.6 tire, and 24 psi in the rear. Okay, so here's another one where if you're keeping your head up, right as you come past this tree here, you start looking down the trail, you'll see that super tight turn, right? So what you want to do is start picking your line. And so tight turns like this, you don't want to go away to the inside, because what happens if you go to the inside is it forces you to have your front tire have to go wide. And if you look on this particular one, there's a little tire catcher, a little drop right there, or edge if you want to call it that. So if your tire comes on the outside here, it's going to get caught on that edge, right? So on tight turns like this, slower maneuvering, because you got to slow way down. This is where you need that bike handling. I will come on the very outside edge of this turn. And the reason why I do that is it gives me room between this tree and the trail to maneuver. And what happens is if I can run my front tire in the very wide, my back tire will track to the inside. I can actually make a sharper turn and I can get my front tire to follow. You can see where people's tire treads are actually before that little rut right there, and you can track right down this. So I'll go ahead and ride it and show you. Perfect. As you could see, I was able to easily come inside of that little edge right there.